That's Ramon.
That's Kevin.
And we're implicitly biased.
Implicitly. Don't get that wrong. Good job. Yes! You did the hand motion this time and not me. But I can't help it. But since you did it, I want to do it too. All right. You ready for this one, Kevin?
No.
This one's kind of dicey.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about this one just yet.
I don't either. Let's hear it, though.
But we're going to have it. Why do modern day white folks...
I don't like them.
Why do modern day white folks try to act as if they would be more noble than their ancestors were?
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, because if we're being honest, like the reason that they have the viewpoints that they have on a lot of things is because of where the time they were raised in, more so than anything else. I don't know why most white people try to act as if they wouldn't be like the worst racist if they weren't, 100 years ago, or why would they act like they wouldn't be one of the worst bigots or anything? Like, why do they try to act? We, even as modern day black folks, a lot of us try to act like, oh, I would never be enslaved. I would, but you probably would be like, if we're being honest, like the system was set up for you to be enslaved, and if you were born into that and that was the life you've always led, you would just live that life. So I don't know why, modern day, I shouldn't even put it just on white folk. I should just say, why do modern day people try to act like they would be better
like
or
if
different?
they were in the past?
Oh yeah, if they were, or even if it was now, but if the society was still like, if we had no civil rights movement, if we had no abolitionist, abolishing of slavery, if we had no Emancipation Proclamation, all those types of things, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. You probably would not like me very much, you wouldn't.
I don't know if that's
true. You wouldn't.
I don't know if it is because of where my family came from. I don't think that there's definitely going to be people that would be in that situation. But there was a whole region of the country that fought for your people.
Yeah, but that didn't mean they liked them.
They didn't not like him very much to sign up to go kill other people.
If we really want to boil it down, largely it was about political things. It wasn't about the actual people.
No, absolutely,
it was for political purposes.
It was for
and people in the North, people in the North were just as racist. They may not have been as so gung-ho about slavery per se, but they were still very racist. They still did not like black people. And so it was very segregated, just like, it was in the South. And there was a lot of, it was a lot like it was like in the 50s and the 60s, where they were tolerated, you could live, you could work, but you're not equal to me.
Are you talking about like in the North?
Yeah, in the North. You're not equal to me. Yeah, you can own your little thing, but don't try to own more than I own. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't understand why people today try to act as if they would be more noble. They would be like, oh, no, I would never. Yeah, you would. If your grandmom did it, your great-grandmom did it, and you were raised by them and you were living in that area, you would do it just like they did. And you wouldn't think there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. So in that, I wonder, worldwide, not just here, if the same scenario had happened, if worldwide it would be the same, or if it would be different in different countries.
I think it would be the same, because even people like German people, no modern day German would say like, oh, I would never be a part of anything that Hitler was doing. I would never.
Yeah.
But bullcrap. You would be just as much as a part of the Nazi Party as anybody who was back in that day was, because you believed in what he was doing. You would have heard all the rhetoric. You would have saw the circumstances that you were living in, and you would have bought into it. I don't understand why people try to act as if they would be any different.
I think it's mostly for shame. They're ashamed that they're on both sides of the coin. You're probably ashamed that your ancestry was in slavery. I'm ashamed that probably my ancestry was in slave owning.
Right.
And I would like to look at all the positives that my family didn't get here until the 1800s after slavery. So I wouldn't have been a part of it. I'll go that route and say it that way. But if, like you said, slavery hadn't been abolished and my family still came here after, it would have been, would they have become slave owners? Because they came over here as immigrants and they were poor too, so
Right.
they would have been lumped in at the bottom of the heap too.
Yeah. But see, that's the reason the system was designed the way it was. The system was designed because even in that day, poor white people started to realize, like, wait, we're no different than, especially Irish folks and stuff like that. They're like, we're no different than the black people. You guys are treating us the same way, and you guys are treating us the same as you treat the Chinese and the Japanese. Like, and then white folks started realizing, rich white folks started realizing, wait, we got to do something here to make sure that the numbers are with us, because there was a time where if all the poors got together and all the poors united,
it's still that time
now. But
yeah.
you get what I'm saying, like there, in that time where if all the poor people really united and really went against the rich elite, they would have lost everything. So they realized, they're like, no, we need to put it into the hearts and the minds of people that just you having white skin, just you having lighter skin means you're better than that person. And so we're going to write laws to make sure that you think that you're better than that person, no matter what color they are, just because you have white skin. And that's the system we're still dealing with today. We're trying to suss out some of the problems with that system still today. But to me, that still speaks to the point that the reality is in that day, you would have felt like, you know what, I'm poor, I'm white, but at least I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have anything. I don't have any, money, or my shoes are just as tore up as that guy, but at least I'm not black.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm not Chinese. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mentality. And then, and I think that's the reason why there's so many poor white folks who hate when any other race does better or does good for themselves. And I think that's why there's so many white folks that have a problem with the rappers and they have a problem with the basketball players and all those kind of guys. So they're like, well, why do you, just because you're black, you got to, you're like, well, no, that's because they're a good athlete, but also they happen to be black. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's part of their, the problem with, them having such a negative, any little thing can be the thing that turns them off, like the Colin Kaepernick thing. We all know what he's doing is nothing wrong with it. Nothing's really bad about it. We all know that. If you don't know that, you're the problem. But there's nothing really wrong with what he's doing. But in actuality, they're like, oh, well, I don't like the fact that you're getting paid this amount of money and you're choosing to do it at a time where I don't think it's convenient. So you're the problem. Even though that's literally the civil rights movement. That's literally what happened throughout the civil rights movement. But it was acceptable then. We had Martin Luther King Day. We're okay with that. We're okay with the civil rights and all that kind of stuff. But we don't like that somebody's still doing that today for rights. Does that make any sense? Yeah. So I think that's the systemic problem that we still have in this country, is that ideology that was ingrained in poor people back then, that at least, or the poor white folks back then, at least you're not as bad off as them, or even if you are as bad off as them, at least you're not that color.
I think that system is still strong too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because, like we said earlier, if the poor people got together, there's definitely more of us than the 1%. That's why they're the 1%.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not even in the poor. I'm well above that. But
right.
I still feel really poor.
Oh yeah, man. Hits you hard, doesn't it?
But we at the base of it, we all suffer the same. Racism aside, we suffer the same problems being poor.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
But I still think, back to the original thing, it's a lot of shame and even jealousy to say that we wouldn't do that because of shame and jealousy. I wouldn't do that because they're black, Yeah. I wouldn't do that because I'm better than that. Because they're ashamed of what their ancestors probably did.
Right.
And I'm not going to 100% say that every white person is going to be racist.
No. That's not
not at all.
It's not even realistic.
No, it's just like very, very unrealistic. Yeah. And I would like to think that from stories my grandpa told of growing up poor in America as an immigrant, the children of an immigrant. Actually, I don't remember if he's the first generation or second. Either way, he loved everybody, from what he was telling me.
What?
And up there in Minnesota, it's pretty white up there.
As they're driven snow.
So at that same moment, where he came from, Sweden, and grandma from Norway, it's pretty white there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would come hating, like the instance perceives, but honestly, I don't know.
Well, that's interesting that you brought that up. I had a friend when I was in high school. Actually, it was a whole family. They moved out here because their dad worked. He used to build hotels, and they moved out here to Tombstone. That's where I went to high school at. And they were from Iowa. And they came to Tombstone High School, and me and a couple of my friends, we were talking to them, how you doing? And they were just like, wow. And we're like, what? You're the first black people we ever talked to.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever? They're like, literally, you're the first, aside from TV, you're the first black person we've ever seen and the first black person we ever talked to. And I'm like, are you kidding? And I was wondering why, when I spoke to them before, one of them, Adam, he ended up being a real good friend of mine. He was just like kind of afraid and kind of standoffish. And I'm like, what did I do to you? Because we ended up sitting by each other. I'm like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I didn't realize you guys would be so cool. And I'm like, who? It didn't click with me. Like, who are you talking about? Well, black people. You guys are the first black people I ever talked to. And I'm like, holy smokes. And it was kind of an eye-opener to me, because I'm like, the truth is if all he's ever seen about black people is something like Boys in the Hood, or, the negative connotation of black people that you see on TV, to actually meet a black person, and I think it helped him. It changed some things in him, because they actually see and meet a black person, and we're cool, and we're like, hey, what's going on? We're not thugs, we're not gangsters, we're not pimping them hoes or any of that other stuff. We're just normal. Yeah, exactly. We're normal kids. We're going to school. We're playing sports, the same sports as you. There's nothing different about us. It really opened up his eyes. I mean, he ended up marrying a Mexican girl, and but he had never dealt with black people, never seen black people. So there wasn't necessarily a hatred in his heart. It was more of just like the unknown.
Yeah.
It was, and I think I can say fear of the unknown. I can't say he was necessarily scared of us, but the way he was standoffish, it was like,
what's that implicit bias that we always talk about?
Exactly.
He was raised away from black people,
right?
And it's not that you're scared of them. It could be that you're scared of them, but let's be honest. If you grew up in Iowa, in very, very white Iowa, he didn't watch Boys in the Hood ever.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But the darkest show he may have watched may have been Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something like that.
Right.
Or
the Cosbys. Yeah.
Or the Cosbys.
Right.
Because the parents probably watched Cosbys.
Right.
Because he was wholesome at one point.
Oh, God. Here we go. We got to have a discussion about that one day. He didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. I don't believe it either.
No.
But the reality is, he came here not knowing. And in so many instances, say he moved to Chicago. That's a different breed of black person that him coming in there not knowing would instantly be looked at as hatred.
Right.
And the attitude would have been that of, and he would have seen those negative connotations that are put out there so much.
Right. Absolutely.
So on both sides of the coin, nobody knows. One person comes in, puts himself out there. If the other person isn't willing to put themselves out there, you're gonna get that negative connotation or a different than you actually are.
Right.
Just like our friendship, I personally grew up here in Sierra Vista, and we had a good mix of everybody.
Right.
Tombstone was a lot wider than Sierra Vista is.
Yeah.
So all growing up, I was surrounded by a mix of everybody.
Right.
So I didn't really notice the big difference there.
Right.
At home, my uncle was a black guy. My cousin's a mulatto. So I grew up with that my entire life. I have no hatred, but I do know people completely opposite, and they do.
Right.
On both sides. And I've never asked them, have you had an actual bad experience,
Right.
or is that just what you were raised with?
Right. Well, and then that's the thing. I mean, you can, based off what you were saying about my friend in high school, a bad experience can be something about timing, location. It can be something all about. It could be about interpretation too.
Absolutely.
Because it could be something that is really not even that big of a deal, but to you, in your world, that just proves everything right. Whereas in somebody else's world, that's like, that has nothing to do with black people or white people or any other race or anything.
Anybody could have done that. A dog could have done that. Whatever.
Right.
And the same thing could be attributed to a bad experience at a restaurant.
Right.
You hear that this restaurant's terrible and everything, and you go in there thinking that it's going to be terrible.
Right.
It's going to be terrible.
Right.
But if you go in there with an open mind, I'm going to try what.
Right.
I'm going to try it.
Right.
And you try it, and it becomes your favorite restaurant.
That's true.
It's all about prejudice, you know. If you go in there with prejudice in your heart,
Right.
Because it's always going to be there. We're all prejudiced. But if you go in there, you take it from your brain and you put it in your heart, knowing that that's what's going to be like, that's what it's going to. You just made it happen.
Right. And you already have people automatically behind the 8 ball. You automatically have, you're just waiting for them to prove the feeling,
exactly.
the feeling right. And I'm telling you, I've seen that so much in the last couple of years. People are just waiting for somebody to prove any negative thing about somebody else right. And as soon as they do, I knew it all along. I knew it all along. I mean, we can go from all over the place. Obviously, we can go to politics, but we won't.
Yeah.
But I mean, everywhere, whether it's a celebrity, like again, what we were talking about with Bill Cosby. Some people were just waiting. I knew he was too good to be true.
Right.
I knew, and we're like, they were partying. Like, let's just be honest. Right. They were partying, and this is what happened. But you see it all over the place. People are just waiting for somebody to validate their negativity that they already have in their heart and in their mind. And as soon as they do that, there's no point in this. It's done.
It is.
There's no going back. There's no reasoning.
There's no actual talking about, hey, I noticed this happened the other day. Why?
Right.
Or what led up to that?
Right.
Because that could just change a whole lot of things.
Oh yeah.
And the sad thing to see is this happens in people's workplaces, and they have to work next to each other with that hatred in their heart, and they never get along. They miss out on a friendship. They miss out on wonderful things that could happen because of that hatred.
Right. Or even just bad days. Sometimes you just catch people when everything's going wrong. Their cat just died. Their grandma went to the hospital. I mean, you catch them on the worst day, and you do something that's slightly annoying to them. They blow up, and you think, oh, man, this person's a jerk. This person's a piece of crap. All I asked them was, what color are your shoes? And they yelled at me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, and that has a lot to do with it, too. I think the ultimate thing that we always go back to whenever we're on this show is just about decorum and mutual respect. Mm-hmm. And if people would have mutual respect for one another, man, this world would be so much better.
It would.
This world would be so much better, and things would be so much smoother. And obviously, there are other facets to it. Money always plays a part, and greed beyond money. Just things, not necessarily monetary things, but all those things play a factor. But at the end of the day, if you all just have mutual respect for one another, I think we would be in such a better place.
It would be.
Such a better place. But, I don't know. The original question was, do you think, or why do people act as if they would be so different than their ancestors were? And in my opinion, I don't think anybody would. I think we're very much a product of our surroundings. And even if at our core we're not that way, it's easier to go along than it is.
I think that happens all the time.
It's much easier just to go along than it is to be the one person that stands out. And the few people that stand out, we know about them in history. The most of us, nobody will ever hear about 100 years from now because we didn't stand out, because we're going along right now. We don't look at it that way, but right now, in these moments, we're going along. We're doing what society does.
Oh, absolutely.
We're wearing what society wears. We're speaking the way society says is acceptable to speak. all these political things that everybody's in an uproar about, everybody's marching about, holding up signs. In 100 years, nobody's really going to know who you are. Nobody's going to care. And because you're not standing out, you're just doing whatever society says is acceptable. And that's just the truth.
Yep.
And so if it's 2019, 1919, 1819, it's pretty much the same deal all the way back there.
We go in cycles with human behavior, and I don't think it'll ever change.
No.
Because morally, everybody thinks they're doing right. And you look at it and it's like, we're all garbage.
Well, right and wrong is like, and I remember we've had this discussion
that
before.
changes too.
Yeah, right and wrong is literally a matter of dates. It's literally a matter of
really
what society says is acceptable, and that
you can just looking at movies, you can tell morally. You go back to the 70s with Blazing Saddles.
Oh, yeah.
Someone tried to do that today.
They would get crucified.
They would literally crucify everybody involved with it and never let them do anything ever again.
Exactly. And that movie is great.
Fantastic.
Or the movie The Gay Blade of Zorro. Just the title alone.
Yes.
That was probably one of my favorite movies as a kid. But The Gay Blade of Zorro, that title alone, which, I mean, you remember, I try not to be too what's going on right now in society whenever we're doing this, but like the Peloton commercial, the one with the lady riding the bike, and like everybody's mad.
Is that the one with the? No, that was something else.
No, there's like the Peloton, and like everybody's all mad because they're like, well, she's already physically fit. Why is her husband making her ride the bike? Why is she on the bike? And that's very feminist and very sexist, and and I'm like, it's a commercial. Either you want Peloton or you don't. Who gives a crap if the lady's fit, or why is she saying thank you to her husband? Why isn't he working out? Why? You people can't.
Maybe she just wanted a bike.
Yeah, and she's like, "Thank you, honey."
She lives in New York and can't ride a bike outside because it's dangerous AF.
Oh man, like just like the comments and the fact, and then like Peloton stock started plummeting because people were boycotting Peloton, and I'm sitting here thinking, I watched the commercial a couple times, and I'm like, so a lady getting a gift from her husband and saying thank you. And documenting that she's on, and they're like, well, she's already physically fit. You know how many physically fit people still go to the gym every day?
Yeah, you need to stop because you're done.
Yeah.
Let us fat people get in there and do something.
You're in the way. But I'm not going to go. But let us go.
But that's the same thing, because if you go back 30 or 40 years and look at a woman in a commercial.
Oh, yeah.
She's bringing her husband dinner.
Yeah.
She's doing this. And everybody's saying, that's right, that's what you should do.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of time where people's offenses change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I don't know, being somebody who likes to study and read the Bible, when you just read through the Bible, you'll see that something that was perfectly acceptable like 3 books ago in the Bible is something that somebody got killed for in this book. Absolutely. And it was God that said, like, no, we changed our mind on that one. Yeah. So we're not going to go down that road anymore. And then you go right back, and then Jesus was like, nope, I wipe the slate clean on all that stuff. Yeah. So everything you did back here, you know what I mean? And it's just all about times and seasons. And
I thank him for that, because now we can eat bacon.
Thank you. Oh, Lord, you're so awesome to me. Oh, hallelujah. Keep doing it, Lord. Keep up the good work. But no, like right and wrong is absolutely a matter of times and seasons. And we can all be what we perceive as being morally right and being correct and doing all the right things. And even if we go from a spiritual standpoint, God's looking at us like, you guys are pretty much going to hell. Just thought I'd let you know.
I told you what to do and how to do it, and you didn't even read the book.
You know what I'm saying? Or it could be something where we think we're, just terrible and all this other stuff, and it's totally against society. There's people who, in what their beliefs are, is totally against what is acceptable in today's society. It goes against all of our mores. And they're actually great. They're doing great. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything bad. I mean, I'm not saying all these people are great or good, but like the Amish people, like there's nothing wrong with the way they live, but they literally do everything that's against what in our society we would be like, no, I'm not gonna do, let my hair grow this way. I'm not gonna not use soap or whatever type of soap it is. I'm certainly gonna drive my car and use my cell phone. You know what I mean? So everything that they do goes against what we think is right. But in actuality, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing.
Absolutely not.
So right and wrong is all about times and seasons and dates, which is kind of depressing.
It is. It's very depressing because in the future, again, us sitting next to each other could be wrong.
Right. Very true.
And it just depends on the people in power twisting it to be one way or the other.
Right.
And that's really what it is. It's somebody with, I'm not even saying presidential power, somebody with media power that gets up there and says, we're going to make these people mad at each other so that they quit being friends.
Right.
So we can make money off of both of them again.
Exactly.
Because they were sharing something.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that happens more than people would like to admit. And people don't even want to admit. They're like, no, it's this way because this is... No, you weren't mad at the word moist until the internet told you that moist sounded weird. But how else are you going to describe a wonderful moist cake? You can't say a wonderful soggy cake. That sounds disgusting. Moist is a fantastic word, and nobody was mad at it until the internet told you to be mad at it. And he likes moist.
Say it again.
Moist. Moist.
I'm sorry.
But as a people, we're sheep, and we basically love getting told what to be offended about.
Yes. Yeah.
And it happens over and over. And sitting back, I love the internet. I love all social medias. It's fun. It's fun watching people. Sitting back and watching these people's minds explode because of a word or because of a phrase or because of a color of something. A dress is blue or gold. These people are ready to fight whether this dress is blue or gold.
Or the Yandy or whatever the other one is, or Lowell or Lovell or whatever it is.
They're ready to cut each other's throats because their perception sees this or that.
Right.
Because they were told this or that. Because if nobody had told them, they would have heard what they heard.
And it would have been done.
They would have continued their day.
It would have been done.
But someone said, no, this means this.
Right.
No, now we got to fight about it.
Right. Right. And you're preaching to the choir. And I mean, that's one of those systemic things that we're talking about. One of those things that was literally built into the system. It was literally put into the system that if you keep both sides working against one another, you can profit on either. I mean,
on both sides. Yeah.
That's classic with warmongering. That's classic with, you know what I mean? You start a war so that way you can sell. You're on one side, you can sell to the other side, and then you can always switch in the end and be on that side and sell. You know what I mean? That's classic what capitalism. I'm sorry, I know I'm not allowed to kill the fatted calf, but that's part of what capitalism is all about. Capitalism is capitalizing on every situation, and if there's not a situation that you can capitalize on, you make a situation so that way you can capitalize on it. And I'm not against capitalism, but I'm against the misuse of it. Every system that there is can be worked successfully. Every system, but it's a matter of who's willing to be strong enough not to abuse that system. Yeah. Because we've seen instances of every system working for a while, but as soon as crooked people, or as soon as somebody who feels like they're above, or they feel like they deserve more, they feel like as soon as that starts to happen, every system crumbles. Whether it's fascism, whether it's capitalism, whether it's socialism, no matter what it is, it all crumbles because of greed. Because
of humans and greed.
Because of greed. And so, at the end of the day, again, like we always get back to, if we could exercise mutual respect, because at the end of the day, you won't have so much fighting over purple or red or gold or all that other stuff. If I'm just like, dude, you hear what you hear? I hear what I hear. Cool. Yeah, you do your thing. Like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Don't try to convince me of something that I know I hear Yandy, and you hear Lowell or whatever, or Laurel, and I know I see red and or what is it? It's gold and black or gold and blue, and you see black and gray or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, so what?
Well, it's just like asparagus pea. Some people have stinky pee after asparagus. Some people don't have that gene in their body that converts that to stink.
Right.
And they've never smelled it.
Right.
So as according to them, asparagus doesn't make your pee stink.
Right.
But people get militant about it.
Yeah.
You're the way you are. You
Right.
hear what you hear.
Right.
You don't have to fight about it.
Exactly.
but they make us fight about it, and that's what keeps them in power and us under their feet.
Exactly. It's always playing both sides against the middle, and I think it'll always be that way as long as we allow there to be a profit to be made from being on one side or the other. But we have to. The thing that sucks about the system that we're in is, in order to stop that process, you then have to play the game to get to where you can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once you've gotten there, why change it? It's what helped you. You know what I mean? And most people are that way. Yeah, that's what you always see. I mean, at the end of the day, I've worked hard. I play the game better than everybody else down there. Why should I do something to destroy this system because they haven't decided to play the game?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Absolutely.
We see it all the time. We see it. We see it with basketball players. We see it with rappers. We see it with CEOs. We see it with startups. We see it with restaurateurs. We see it with everybody.
And I think that's kind of why the internet right now is kind of neat, because it's kind of taking that power away from people in control. No, it is. In this, it's letting the actual people decide who's cool and who's not. The last few successful rappers haven't come out of the music industry.
Right.
They've come out of uploading their stuff to YouTube or whatever. I don't do the music stuff, so I don't know. But there's music uploads.
Right.
And look at the Old Town Road dude.
Oh, right.
You know, he came out of nowhere because he was able to buy the track, upload it. People loved it. Right. On platforms like TikTok, on platforms like the music thing, and he become insanely popular without the approval of Hollywood's music scene or whatever.
Well,
and so then they try to bust him down by releasing that he's gay.
Right.
They absolutely tried. And people fell for it.
Right.
They're like, some people are like, oh, I can't listen to his stuff now. And some people are, oh, I love you for being strong and blah, 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 whatever. But he did it without Hollywood's approval.
Right.
And I think that's where, like, we're uploading this stuff. We're saying what we're saying now. And if what we're saying is true, we can kind of start busting little pieces of the system. And if enough people do this and bust a little piece, I don't think we can control the system because there's too much money well above. Even if all the poor people got together, we don't have the money that they have. No. However, we have the ability to join together and call them on their BS.
Well, if we were actually unified, and I think that's the major problem is there's still greed and the illusion of having more or having something, even among us, like what I was saying earlier about the white and the black. It's the illusion of, well, at least I'm not them, or at least I have more than that person. So there's the illusion of all of us poor people, and the I'll say the 99%. I can't say just poor because I'm blessed. So hey, thank you, Jesus. But anyways, the 99. That if we really wanted to, we could shut down McDonald's in America if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But the fact that I can go get my sweet tea and there's no line now because everybody else is boycotting, I'm going to go get my sweet tea.
Wait, they're boycotting McDonald's?
No, I'm just saying we have the power to, like, if we actually had unity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we actually had unity and we're all saying, you know what, we're all not going to go to McDonald's because McDonald's, killed Wendy. I don't know. But we're all not going to go to McDonald's anymore. If we said that, and there would be a large percent that'd be like, there's not going to be any lines at McDonald's now, or they'll say something stupid like, oh, well, there's people that work at McDonald's we got to support. We got to make sure they keep their job.
Yeah.
And it has nothing, like the actual goal
nothing to do with
much more important than your $12 an hour. And you could, as soon as we get done with them, we can open up something that's better that'll give you $15 an hour, but you don't want to fight through. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's those type of people who are always going to be the ones that'll make sure that we never are able to.
Yeah, we can't unify for anything.
No, we'll never be able to actually kick against the higher ups. We'll never be able to actually tear down any of that stuff because there'll never be enough unity for us to do it. And the reason I'm saying that now is because this is something that I've heard discussed. Even when I watch old tapes and film and discussions from years ago, this is something that the black community has struggled with for years, especially during the civil rights movement and after the civil rights movement. There's always, even during the abolition. I can never say that word.
You said it right.
Abolitionist period. They were trying to abolish slavery and all that other stuff. There was enough that were not unified. There was enough that are like, no, I'm going to fight for the Confederates because I'm used to this style, or I'm not going to go along with you guys because Master's going to give me more whatever that I didn't have before. So I'd rather stay in slavery than to fight against the thing that's really keeping me down. And that's just the same attitude among the 99 that it was back then among the slave people or the oppressed people during like the civil rights movement and stuff like that. The people that were being segregated against and subjugated to unreasonable things. There was a lack of unity, and that was something that I always hear about, something that I always read about, something that I see even today. There's a lack of unity among people who really, really do have the same interests.
Oh, absolutely.
But they are just refusing to be unified behind the same banner, which I think is just crazy.
That's, not to get political again, but it's a good example. The Democrats hate Trump so much, all of them. Yet they come out with 40-something representatives, nominees to go against it. I'm like, why don't you just focus on one person and then everybody agreed to go against this guy?
Right, exactly.
And because of it, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't want to make any assumptions. But it's like Hillary screwed up the last time because she was everybody was behind Bernie.
Right.
Everybody was behind Bernie. And she comes in and beats him off with a newspaper. Yeah. And then they lose.
Right.
I'm like, why wouldn't you just join with him, be the vice, and you would have got in?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I agree 100%.
I don't want to say 100%, but very highly, if she wouldn't have beat down Bernie, I bet he would be president right now.
Oh, I'm sure. And there would have been less.
Because they had people in there fighting between each other because they couldn't unify against the guy they hated the most.
Exactly.
That's how stupid
like you're
people
saying,
are.
they're doing the exact same thing again. And there's like 2 more people that are trying to join now, and I'm like, we just lost 6. We finally got it down to a reasonable number, and now there's 2 more of you dummies trying to join. All of a sudden, like, no,
people are so stupid that if someone came out and said, we have to drink water to survive, there were people that would stop drinking water just to argue, just to not unify.
What gives you the right to tell us what we have to drink?
You can't tell me I need water.
Yeah, like,
I'm not going to drink water because you told me I need to.
You don't know my body. I can drink this, plant juice or whatever. You know what's in that, right, doofus? Yeah. Water. But no, you're right. There are people that are just going to be contrary no matter what, which sucks for the goal that what we were talking about.
Any goal. Any goal.
True.
A group of people would sit down and get this goal, and there would be people in there or people just outside telling these people with enough confidence that they would go against what their goal was.
The original goal. Which kind of sucks because, like, on the one hand, like, as a leader, you don't want a bunch of people behind you that are just saying yes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't want a bunch of people that are with you that are just going to be like, you're like, hey, you know what? I had an idea. We should all jump off this cliff later on the night. And they're like, sweet, let's go.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
No, thank you. I won't be the one joining you guys. You want somebody who always, does look at things from a different perspective. Yeah. But on the other hand, you don't want somebody who's always against you either. You don't want somebody who's like always, every time you're like, hey, seriously, we're about to build like the most amazing mall and we got all the funding and everything. Oh, no, because you guys are not putting Starbucks in there, so it'll never work.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go kick rocks and then we'll, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like you have to find that happy medium where, but I feel like the problem is you have those people who literally just bust up the actual system. And those are the problem. Not the person who is just having constructive criticism, but they literally just bust up the plan. And those are the people that are always the ones that are I don't know the guy's name. Have you ever watched Django Unchained?
I've watched parts of it.
Did you know the guy that Samuel L. Jackson played? He's like the house guy or whatever, and he's like the one who's like, hey, there's something wrong going on. He's like the snitch basically in the movie. Yeah. There's always that guy who's just like, oh, I'm going to make sure.
He's the guy in the zombie movie who got bitten, but is not telling his friends that he got bitten.
Exactly.
He's hiding from them.
So everybody's laying there sleeping. He wakes up, and bites everybody and kills like 8 people because he didn't tell the truth.
But that's the goal. I mean, that's the problem. Right. Is there's people like that everywhere.
Yeah.
That
self-interest.
It is. And it's self-interest that doesn't even make sense.
Right.
Because why would you want to hide that you got bit by a zombie? Why would you want to hide that you're going to be a snitch? Well, why would you want to snitch?
Right.
Because they're trying to help you out.
Right.
But people are like that. And I it's a human condition that I just don't get.
Well, it's that classic. There was that study that they did where they told the kids, like, you can eat a marshmallow now, or you can wait 5 minutes and then you can have 2 marshmallows.
Yeah.
And like almost all the kids ate the marshmallow right then because they would rather have it right then instead of having 2 in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And then the few kids who did wait were like happy that they got the 2, but they're like mad at them for getting 2. Well, I wanted 2. You should have waited. You know, and that's like the classic story. You know, we see it all the time in society, which is kind of sad because you would think adults would realize, moving forward, you know, if we work hard at this right now, down the road, it'll be more beneficial for us. But adults don't realize that. Adults are just like, no, I'd rather go ahead and eat McDonald's today instead of waiting until next year when I can actually own a McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like something like that, you know? I just hope I don't end up being one of those kids who is so fat that he wants the marshmallow right now instead of waiting down the road. I feel like I'm eating too many marshmallows right now, and I want to hold back down the road. You know what I mean? Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah. With that, we out.
We love you.
Peace.